So as you're writing that down, again, hopefully you notice that we're using this approach of the first element, naming that pretty normally, just using the prefix. So we've got tri for the prefix, meaning 3 nitrogen, trinitrogen, and then di, because there's 2 phosphorus, so di being that prefix, we change the endings from phosphorus to phosphide. Okay? Because again, looking at these rules I've got on the board here, we're going to use your prefix, your first one, except for mono. Then the second one, we change the ending to IDE after using the prefix. So if we try that second one so you can see that, we've got F is the first, and there's only one of them. We don't use mono for the first element. It's just a weird exception to remember. So we're just going to call this start of this one fluorine. But we do use mono for the second element. So because we have 1 bromine, we are going to say mono. We change the ending to IDE, okay, just like we did up here, so it becomes monobromide. Notice it's not monofluorine monobromide. We just don't use mono for the first element. I'm not really sure there's a great reason as to why, but so fluorine monobromide, we use it for the second element. So we look at our third one. So we have S2. We use the prefix for 2 for S. So 2, back up at our prefix list, is di. And we use that with sulfur, so disulfur, which means quite literally 2 sulfurs. And then we have 3 oxygens. The prefix for 3 is tri. And then we change oxygen to oxide. So you would say it's disulfur trioxide. Okay. And again, just so we're clear, we're using this prefix list up here of 1 to 10. So that's where we're pulling these from. So because 2, the prefix is di. And then for 3, the prefix is tri. And we're using these because we have 2 elements that are highlighted in the yellow here that are both on the right of the steps. So if we have those nonmetals together, that makes a covalent compound. We use these prefixes 1 to 10. Okay? All right, so let's look at the next one. How would we name the next one? We've got C3P2. You want to give that one a try? Yes? Okay, good. Tricarbon diphosphide. So we're going to use 3 for carbon, so tri. And then we've got 2 phosphorus, so di. Phosphide. Great. Okay? So we name them pretty literally. This means 3 carbons, 2 phosphorus. Okay? The IDE ending just tells someone it's the end of the name of the compound. Okay? All right, let's go the other way. So let's go from, given the name, let's write the formula. Okay? So the first one, notice there's no prefix in front of phosphorus, which tells us there's just one of them, because remember, we don't use a prefix if there's one. So it's going to just be P. Remember, we don't write P1. That just means P. Tri, so 3. Iodide comes from iodine. So we've got I3. Okay? So PI3. That means 1 phosphorus, 3 iodides. If we look at our next one, sulfur again does not have a prefix. So we're going to know that there's 1. If it was anything but 1, it would say di, tri, etc. So 1, so just S. Hexa is the prefix for how many if you look over your list? 6. Fluoride comes from chlorine. So we've got SCl6. The next one is diphosphorus, so 2 phosphorus. Pent is the prefix for 5. So pent, meaning 5, oxygens. So we've got P2O5. Okay? The next one is carbon tetrafluoride. What would our formula look like? Addie? Good, CF4. There's no prefix for the carbon, so it tells you just one of them, so just C. And then tetra is the prefix for 4, so we need 4 fluorides, so CF4. And how about our last one? We've got trihydrogen mononitride. Formula would look like Yep. Perfect. H3M. You need 3 hydrogens, 1 nitrogen, H3N is your final formula. Okay? So these are, if they both are on the right of the steps, both nonmetals, that makes a covalent compound. We use these prefixes. We follow the approach from the prefixes. What I want to show you is, because once you get these prefixes down, do not use them all the time. I'm going to throw in some mixed practice here that are ionics, so we can review the difference between these covalents where we use the prefixes and the ionics where we do not. So let's look at the first one, CuCl2. I noticed this is ionic because they cross the steps. Here's copper, it's a metal. Cl all the way over there on the other side of the steps, a non-metal. We are not using any prefixes. So this is what we've been doing before, right? Where we say, okay, Cu is copper. But we do notice that copper is a transition metal, so we do need a Roman numeral for its charge. But remember, the second half, all we do is change the ending to IDE, which is actually what we were doing today, right? We changed the ending to IDE. We just aren't using any prefixes. So this is not copper dichloride. There's no prefixes because they cross the steps. What is that Roman numeral I drop in the middle there based off the charge? Addie, what is it? Good, 2. We have it crisscrossed after the chlorine, so that's how we know that the charge is 2. Let's practice another one that does not involve any prefixes because we're crossing the steps. NaNO3, Na is group 1, so it's a metal. N and O are both nonmetals on the right of the steps, so no prefixes. Na is called sodium. NO3 is a polyatomic that has a collective name. If you go back in your notebook, remember you get this table to use on the test. You don't have to memorize these. You just need to be able to find them. NO3 is called, has a -1 charge, but what is it called? What is it? Good. Okay, so sodium nitrate. So I need you to make sure that you can use that table and name these polyatomic ions. Okay, you do not need to memorize them. You will be given that same table that is in your notebook. You just have to be able to name them. So sodium nitrate. If you want to start naming 3 elements in a row, stop. Don't do that. There's a polyatomic. So if you start saying, well, sodium, then nitrogen, then something, stop. Okay, find the polyatomic table and write down the collective name. The last one, as a great review, is what? NaCl is named? Okay, well, other than salt. What is the actual name for it? Sodium chloride, okay? I wanted to put that one here to tell you it's not sodium monochloride because we are crossing the steps. There is no prefixes. If you have metal, non-metal, do not add any prefixes in there. We just have sodium chloride. Because some people, once they learn these prefixes, they add them everywhere. I don't want you doing that, okay? If you're crossing the steps, there's no prefixes here, okay? So that's the basics of how we go ahead and name